Not every European country is a member of the European Union, despite what you might expect from the name. The 27 member states that make up the European Union are bound together politically and economically. Not all European countries are members of the European Union. Some of these countries do, however, keep cordial relations with EU members. The Nordic countries of Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland are particularly good instances of this. How come, though? In the many decades following the formation of the European Union, why have these nations chosen to remain outside its borders? Norway, located atop the Scandinavian peninsula and bordered by the North Sea, the Arctic Circle, and the Baltic Sea, is a good place to start. Two other EU member states that border Norway are Finland and Sweden. The Northern Lights, Viking history, and breathtaking fjords are among of Norway's most famous attractions. Regarding its connection to the EU, though, Norway is also distinct. True, Norway has made prior attempts to become an EU member. The nation first sought membership in the European Economic Community in 1962, the name of the early union. When France blocked Britain's attempt to join the EEC, Norway was also cut off because their application was conditional on UK participation. In 1963 and again in 1967, when France stopped the UK once more, its application was suspended. In the time after, the Norwegian people voted time and time again to stay outside the European Union. Norwegian membership in the European Union has not been pursued since the last referendum in the 1990s. Norway has chosen to stay outside the European Union, EU, due, in large part, to its fish-dependent economy and its reluctance to cooperate with the EU's common fisheries policy in favor of maintaining sovereignty over fishing in its own waters. Another issue that has been raised is whether or not Norway will be able to keep its control over its natural gas and oil resources once it joins the EU. Lastly, many Norwegians are worried that Brussels will step in and take over some parts of Norwegian sovereignty, giving power to entities other than the Norwegian government. To the uninitiated, the Swiss name can give the impression that the country is already an EU member. Its location in the geographic center of Europe, surrounded by 4 countries, France, Germany, Italy, and Austria, makes it an ideal destination. The strange duck among them is Switzerland, with its world-renowned cheese, exquisite watches, and mouth-watering chocolate. The Swiss people opted to halt the application process for membership in the EEA in a 1992 referendum. But the country had already started the application procedure in the early 1990s. A mere 3% of Swiss inhabitants were of the opinion that Switzerland might become an EU member state, according to a 2018 poll. The Swiss need for seclusion is understandable when you give it some thought. They have a long history of being seen as a nation that stays neutral while other countries become involved in wars. Some other features of Switzerland, though, do impact this stance. As part of its direct democratic system, Switzerland holds public referendums to decide on all significant issues. Because of this, the Swiss people would find it hard and unpleasant to provide Brussels decision-making authority. Switzerland is not a member of the EU, but they have shown they are prepared to work with them anyhow. They have been able to enjoy the single market's advantages while maintaining their non-member status, thanks to a series of bilateral agreements they have struck with the Union over the years. This is the last compromise, according to many Swiss. As a world-renowned banking center, the nation's financial independence is of the utmost importance. With no neighboring countries, the breathtakingly beautiful island of Iceland is the most geographically isolated European country. Its landscape is adorned with waterfalls, volcanoes, and, of course, the Northern Lights. Not far away, at more than 400 kilometers, is Ireland, a member of the European Union. In 2009, after a financial crisis, Iceland sought stability by applying to join the European Union. But the application procedure got stuck in 2013 because of an election. Iceland shares Norway's desire to preserve fishing rights in its territorial seas. The preservation of agricultural and monetary control, as well as national sovereignty, are additional issues that have been voiced by Icelanders. Public opinion in Iceland leans toward remaining an independent nation rather than joining the European Union, although a formal vote on the matter has not been conducted. Norway and Iceland are both able to take part in the EU's single market because they are both members of the European Economic Area. They are still subject to some EU rules and contribute to the EU budget, even though they do not have a voice in the European Parliament. On the other hand, they have achieved their desired level of autonomy in a number of sectors, including fisheries. The three nations are all part of the EFTA, an alternative to the EEC that was established in 1960. The Economic Free Trade Association, EFTA, promotes free trade among its member states and with EU member states, as the name suggests. Is there any possibility that Norway, Switzerland, and Iceland could join the European Union at some point? Switzerland is not likely to become a member of the European Union, EU, unless there is a major change at the national level, considering the public's opinion on the matter. They are remaining neutral at this time. Given Norway's voting record, it's safe to assume the same. Iceland has the best chance of the three to reconsider and become an EU member. Remember that the idea of joining has never been put to a vote by the people there. We don't know how interested the Icelandic people would be in the idea till then.